my face was in my notebook. We passed each other, didn't look. But these are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big, small towns, big, small towns, overlapping side by side, big, small towns. I see new people every day. Everyone's on their way, doing the things that fill their day. And I'm going places too, doing the things that I do with my time. We are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big, small towns, big, small towns, diagonal, top to bottom, big, small towns. Be nice to the people of the towns. Once in a while, look around, 'cause what's going around's coming around. What came around's coming around. What's going around's coming around. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big, small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big, small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around the big, small towns.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We are usually live on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Go ahead and follow us there. We are going to be changing up starting next month. That'll be in March. We'll be doing this 7:30 p.m. on Fridays, right before Conspiracy Bingo, and that'll be fun. I think it'll be great. I'll be real tired at the end of the Fridays, but it'll be a good change. And
good
so
tired.
our next week's live show for this, next week's live show for this will be the last Tuesday. So that'll be something.
See you next Tuesday for the last time.
So anyway, you can support this project at echoplexmedia.com/support. I especially recommend the swag shop. I'm going to be adding some more items actually next Monday on my next actual day off, I guess. And so maybe you can check some of that stuff out. And you can also, Patreon and stuff's all there. I'm Producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
This is the Councilman. You can find me on Twitter at @THE_Councilman, provided the Twitter is still there. And you can also find me creeping in on your domain from City Hall occasionally, but not so much anymore.
Great,
Anyway,
great. Have you found yourself using Twitter less than you used to?
Yes, but not necessarily because of Elon and the whole Elon-tocracy. More just, I think in general, I've been using it less. I use it for work, so it's, I find myself using it professionally more than personally, shall we say.
We talked on our tech show that we recorded earlier today. The show's called How the Tech Are You, by the way. Everybody should check it out, that they're changing the API. Do you use something like Hootsuite to manage Twitter?
I do, in fact. So changing the Asian Pacific Islander
No, API, the application something or another.
Okay.
It's gonna break Hootsuite, I think.
Oh crap. Well, that's great. Well, I pay too much for Hootsuite anyway, so maybe I'll just cancel that shit and just not stop doing the Twitters anyway. It's not really paying much dividend for me these days.
Or I mean, you can just have, if you have like 2 work accounts you need to deal with, just have 2 browsers.
Truth. Well, it's more the scheduling that I like. So until Twitter itself comes up with a scheduling app.
Oh, there's scheduling on Twitter.
In Twitter itself, twitter.com?
Yeah.
That must have been changed since the last time I checked.
Yeah, it was like a year ago. I didn't know it was there either until I clicked something when I was tweeting, and I was like, oh shit, that's a schedule button.
Well, we have to get into the docket, but you have to show me that later because I did not realize that was possible.
Yeah, for sure. I can show you after because there's no show after this because this isn't live, which is stunning.
Oh, there is though. It's called Bad Babies Waking Up. that's my post game.
So, what do we have for leading off?
Well, don't ever accuse this show of not following up on stories. So last week we brought you the story of the San Francisco neighborhood that was concerned about the, shall we say, folks, escorts,
sex workers.
meeting their sex workers. There you go, meeting their clients on their little gentrified street in the Mission District. And so it looks like the escorts are pushing back on that a little bit, and we're going to hear from one of them.
Earlier this week, tonight, a self-described escort is sharing her perspective and asking for understanding. This comes after repeated complaints about prostitution on Capp Street in San Francisco's Mission District. KTVU's Amber Lee is here now after speaking with the woman. Amber.
Julie, the city is planning to put up barriers on the streets where neighbors have complained about traffic and other problems brought on by prostitution. City leaders say they're stepping in out of concern for the neighbors and the workers. The self-described escort says she's there to make a living, not cause trouble.
I just want to fight for our rights as women.
This woman goes by the name Queen. She contacted KTVU wanting to talk openly about her work on Capp Street in San Francisco's Mission District. She describes herself as an escort, not a sex worker, in an area where residents complain of illegal activity, prostitution, traffic, honking, and other loud noise on a regular basis.
I want to say I'm sorry. This is from all the women out there because we are sorry because we don't really want to cause no harm to nobody. We're just out there to make a living.
The 22-year-old tells me she's a single mom who's supporting a 4-year-old son and has bills to pay. She says it's a struggle to survive.
It was my last resort.
To work out on the streets?
Yes.
You tried to get jobs and you couldn't?
Yes.
Queen says she doesn't work for anyone but herself, and that her sister, who is not in the profession, will often be out there with her to watch her back. She says she's been working the streets for 5 months. Queen tells me she's not selling sex, which is illegal. She's selling her time.
I feel like you should have a right to stand anywhere. What if someone just want to pay me the time?
How often does that happen?
A lot, actually.
We look at the reasons for women and men to be on the street.
Antonia Levine is director of San Francisco Collaborative Against Human Trafficking, which helps provide services to survivors. She says people who work the streets are often exploited, the victims of human trafficking, with few, if any, options to make a living, and some are minors.
We look at this situation as lack of support networks in the community and as societal problem.
The city plans to put up barriers on Capp Street between 18th and 22nd Streets to keep out illegal activity. Queen says that measure will not work because those activities will take place on other streets.
I was homeless at a young age, so it's like I just do what I can to make sure I get what I need to get or do what I gotta do.
Supervisor Hillary Ronan, who represents this district, tells me the barriers will likely go up Friday. Her aide says it is a temporary measure and it'll be evaluated in 2 weeks. He says there is a push to get state lawmakers to legalize the profession to regulate the industry in hopes of making it safer for sex workers. Julie?
All right, yeah, Capp Street has been a place for prostitution for many, many years in San Francisco. Amber, thank you. Well, if you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking.
So I think legalizing sex work is a good long-term goal. I'm not sure these barriers are going to do anything. One, I mean, maybe it'll just move like a couple blocks over, but two, like if they put up the barriers in such a way that all it does is like reroutes traffic so that you got to go around the block to get to this street, people just going to go around the block and come to the street. Like it's
for sure. Well, like Queen said, they're just going to go to another street too, right? I also find it interesting that the street has long been known as a haven for prostitution and sex work. Well, then why maybe you shouldn't have gentrified it and brought in all these these noobs who don't know what's going on, man. They don't respect the neighborhood. Anyway, as far as the barriers go, we do have a follow-up to the follow-up story. The barriers have been implemented and installed, and we're going to find out what the neighbors think of the barricades on their own street.
Oh, they probably fucking hate it. Watch. I'd hate it.
Yeah. Well,
actually, I'm on foot and a bike. I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be like, you idiots having a car in the Mission.
It's a situation of be careful what you wish for, right? So let's hear it.
New at 11, our team of reporters have been reporting on issues related to sex workers on
So you ride your bike right through that little hole.
On Friday, new roadblocks were set up in an effort to curb the amount of activity on those streets. But the question stands, is it working? As ABC 7 News reporter Ansar Hassan found out, it depends on who you ask.
All day Saturday, drivers had to find new ways around the new roadblocks on Capp Street.
So you have seen a lot on this street?
A lot. It's very active, but not last night.
Last night was the first night these road barriers were in place. But why the barriers at all?
It will certainly stop the car traffic from coming through that's been related to the sex workers on our street. So it might help. Okay. Which is more than we've had before.
Elaine Whitney has lived on Capp Street for the past 25 years. Many residents are fed up that more isn't being done to tackle the issue.
It's problematic, not because of what it is, but because there's like this unregulated business on the street. You get a lot of trash, you get a lot of traffic, you get arguments, sometimes fights. I know sometimes girls have been hurt.
The roadblocks are the idea of San Francisco Supervisor Hillary Ronan. One mother who didn't want to be identified for fear of retaliation says at least it's a start.
But it's an emergency solution right now because things were so out of control that there was something that needs to be done to give the families that live on the street some relief.
She says there could be up to 100 women on the street on any night. She adds, based on her experience, it's gotten worse over just the past 6 months.
They are much less dressed than they used to be. They are walking in the middle of the street, which wasn't the case before, and they appear drugged. There are really young women being subjected to this. That's what people aren't hearing. People think it's just like, this is like normal sex work.
Karina Kahani also lives on Capp Street. She says sex work is a complicated issue and wants the women to have more say. And she questions how effective the barriers will be at all.
This feels a little bit like a Band-Aid on the problem. It's like, here's a stick in the middle of the street. Also, cars have been already moving this and driving through. So it seems like we're not really getting to the root of anything. They'll probably just move over a street.
Supervisor Ronan was not available for comment. In San Francisco, Ansar Hassan, ABC 7 News.
She's all the actual residents here have just moved the barriers to drive through.
Right. I mean, this comes up constantly, not just from sex trafficking sex workers. Also, just in general with people, people are speeding down our street. We need speed humps. So everyone gets together and they sign a petition and the city installs speed humps. And then they realize, oh shit, I have to drive over the speed hump every day to drive down my street or to go to my house. So maybe I'm inconveniencing myself more than I am the clients, right, of these sex workers. So there you go. good luck with your barricades in your little gentrified community. I'm sure it's gonna be really exciting. I think Karina, or whatever her name was at the end there, I think had it bang on as far as where things are at and getting to the root causes, right? I think Queen could definitely use some help and not just barricades down the street.
Right. And you know what you said about the speed hump, maybe the speed humps go in and then the residents realize, wait, I'm the one who was speeding down this street.
The problem is you.
Right. The excess speed is coming from inside my SUV.
I mean, if you're looking around for someone to blame and there's no one to blame, usually it's you. Anyway, well, we will continue to follow up on that story as there is more to follow up upon. Sounds like Hillary Ronan is trying her best to put up barricades and then just hide under them. There was another story this week about potentially another supervisor who had suggested creating a sanctioned red light district. So we might be able to run that story next week. I didn't have room in the docket for it this week, but there's more to come.
You know, that the sanctioned red light district, like I was talking last week about it, they better put it somewhere where there's like bars and nightclubs and stuff already, because otherwise because if you like go and maybe you bought a condo in San Francisco and then they drop the red light district in your neighborhood, like that sucks if that's like not where, if you don't want to live in the red light district. Like I'm not like super worried about those people who don't want that, but like at first it's going to be like a big deal, right? If they do it. And so there's going to be a lot of foot traffic and car traffic to the sanctioned red light district, and wherever they put it, it's going to add a lot of traffic. But if they put it like on Folsom, like where there's all those bars and nightlife and stuff already, then people are just used to all the traffic, and it would be less impactful to the neighborhood. I just don't know if the space is available for like brothels or whatever, because all that space is taken up by the nightclubs.
Yeah, the traffic is certainly a concern that you'd hear from the neighbors, but I actually would think more of like, you know, the typical complaints you hear about any kind of development or new thing, you know, property values. You know, I'm not going to be able to charge as much rent for these apartments. I'm not going to be able to charge as much for these condos. If you put a red light district in, right, it's going to just ruin everything. So that's probably that. I think that'd be what you hear just as much as, you know, the traffic and the other sort of more logistical complaints about, which should come with living in a city, right? On all counts, but
change is going to be a constant in a big city like San Francisco. That's one of the reasons I would think that's one of the reasons people move there, because things are kind of moving quickly and everything, you know, it's at the forefront of our culture in a lot of ways. But it turns out that some people think they want that, and then they buy their $1.5 million condo, and what they really want is peace and quiet. And it's like, well, I don't know where you thought you were moving.
Right. I imagine this would get a similar reaction to, you know, if they proposed a homeless or a housing project for unhoused individuals in someone's community, right? Or some sort of homeless services agency or transition center, right?
And I mean, the ultimate answer is what ended up happening with cannabis. It got decriminalized, and now there's like just dispensaries kind of in all different, kind of dispersed throughout the city in different people's neighborhoods, and even people who don't smoke weed probably don't even notice that they're there. It doesn't bother. Nobody cares now, right? Like nobody gives a fuck about the cannabis dispensaries anywhere anymore, except in Shasta County. But that's a whole other matter.
In San Jose. Don't worry. It's still a thing in San Jose. So we'll have more. But yeah, and then there's actually some news coming out of the state about cannabis cafes too. So we'll have more news on that coming soon. A local assembly member is proposing something. So
like places where I would assume a cannabis cafe would be like a place with a either well ventilated or an outdoor area where you could smoke with people.
Yeah, and have a sandwich.
Oh, fuck, that would, oh my God, that would be, I would love to go to a place and like be able to order a joint and not even like a regular soda, but like an Italian soda that they made for me, and like a sandwich on a croissant that's overpriced.
Right. Or even just be able to bring your own cannabis and get a sandwich, right? And just enjoy your cannabis like you would a cigarette on the patio, or, you know, or, and anything else like an
I feel like the businesses would want to make sure they're the ones selling you the cannabis.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's all about how they allow them to integrate. Can they get vertically integrated like that? Like San Jose was at first averse to having, you know, dispensaries they could grow, sell, and deliver as well. So They tried to keep everything in its silo. It just didn't really work that way.
I feel like that's a bigger vertical integration problem than we'll also make you a sandwich.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a different kind of vertical integration problem.
Coffee. Yeah. So we'll see. But the idea would be like more like Amsterdam, right? Where there are cafes that sell their own, but also there's a culture of the cafes allow you to consume and you're allowed to consume in public in certain
on the patios, basically on
the patio. Yeah. If you're in the parklet, if you're in the right. You can consume.
God, I don't even want to hear the arguments about in Nob Hill in San Francisco, the cannabis parklet. The smoke is wafting into my home.
Oh, don't worry. We've got it up next on the very next story here. Another follow-up as we start winners and losers. So last week we heard the trials and tribulations of neighbors who wanted to put some benches up around some trees to give people a place to sit and hang out and commiserate. And the Public Works Department decided to slap them with a fee or a fine. So I guess another neighborhood is getting pushed back on their benches. So we're going to hear more.
God. All right, let's do it.
So last week we told you about residents of one San Francisco neighborhood. They're trying to keep the city from removing their benches.
Yeah, as ABC 7 News reporter Leanne Melendez discovered today, they're not the only ones.
What happens in San Francisco doesn't always stay in San Francisco. The city is asking to have these benches on Indiana Street in the Dogpatch neighborhood removed. They were built during COVID.
I thought, why don't we build some seating around the trees so our staff could meet with our participants outdoors?
That's when San Francisco's Department of Public Works notified RAMS, a nonprofit that helps people with a mental health diagnosis find a job.
The trees weren't able to get water, and car doors, if they parked along the street, were not able to open the car door.
But you fixed that?
Yeah, we fixed it.
These were the changes that were quickly made.
So we removed half of the seating. This allows water to get to the tree, and it allows car doors to open.
And the trees are fine. They're taken care of.
The owner of the local coffee shop says the benches have been an asset to his business and the community.
Instead of the graffiti that we're seeing around the city, this is actually beautifying the community and allowing both our clients who have suffered from mental health issues to have fresh air outside.
People being able to sit down in places like this makes the neighborhood, makes the block better, makes it, much enjoyable.
Neighbors in another part of the city are also working with the Department of Public Works to try to keep their benches. It's getting a lot of attention. Some people even posting on social media, #SaveTheBenches. Those residents of the Bernal Heights Street say some of their benches have been in place for more than 17 years. Despite the changes made to the Indiana Street benches, now the nonprofit has been notified that the 2x4s had to be spaced apart to allow for more water to reach the roots.
I think we might have to remove the outdoor seating.
In addition, the city is asking them to pay an encroachment application fee of $1,400, an amount they say too high and not worth fighting for. In San Francisco, Leanne Melendez, ABC 7 News.
This is dumb.
An encroachment application fee from the Public Works Department at San Francisco. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So they want to remove some of the slats so the trees can get water. Do they not understand how water works?
Not really. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, they're Public Works people, so what do they know about water, right? Also, wasn't that the department that had all sorts of corruption and people skimming off the top for their nonprofit?
Oh,
I want to say, yeah, wasn't that the there was a dude who went to jail for it too, or at least got convicted.
Man, they're not doing so good on the public relations. They're pissing off the powers that be, and they're just pissing off people who want a bench.
They lost a lot of money, right, to the scam and the fraud, so they got to make that up somehow. So charging the $1,400 encroachment fee, I guess, is the way to go on a nonprofit. Thank you.
Like, those benches were so cute.
Yeah, for sure. That dude just looked like he'd ordered his coffee. He came out in the last shot there, came out, chilled. He was checking his phone. He's ready to enjoy his coffee, leaning against the tree. The tree is getting a little love, a little human interaction. You ever hugged a tree, Dave?
I mean, yes.
It's good. It's fun. It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
They don't hug back, but
this is like these kind of stories. Like they just like they fuel the fire of like libertarian type people who are like, well, government's encroaching, and in this case, yeah, the tree's not going to suffer for water. There's the water just goes between the pieces of wood, and then there's like that big giant area next to the tree where water can fall. And I bet those people now, I bet they water the tree too.
Yeah, it's just like a government shakedown of some sort. You're right. You're exactly right. This is what gives people fodder for their libertarian tendencies in the first place. So, speaking of cracking down on people just doing their thing, looks like SJPD's cracking down on quote unquote illegal gambling operations.
IX5 News begins with a big-time gambling bust. Businesses with a secret back room, a sophisticated operation hidden in plain sight. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Alan Martin. Inside heavily secured businesses and behind fake walls, San Jose police take down an illegal gambling ring with locations spread across the city. KPIX5's Kit Doe has been covering these stories for years for us, but Kit, this time, something different.
Yeah, this has become an annual event here in San Jose. Sometime in the spring or summer, pretty much for the past couple of years, San Jose police announced a huge gambling bust, and this year is no different, except that it looks like the crooks are evolving, trying to stay one step ahead of police. From the outside, they look like typical strip mall businesses, a PC repair shop, a hair and nail salon. But look closely and it doesn't add up. The salon is heavily fortified, and inside there isn't a workstation to be found. Just a small meeting room with a door that leads to a more secure back room. And it's in back rooms just like this where San Jose police, with help from the feds, seized 64 illegal gambling machines and about $3,000 in cash and arrested about a half dozen people. This is the state of illegal gambling in San Jose, more sophisticated and harder to catch than ever before.
Gangs and organized crime groups they like this type of business because it's extremely lucrative.
After getting tips from the public, a judge issued search warrants for 7 locations, including this PC repair shop on Cropley Avenue in East San Jose. Investigators say there was a false wall with fake computer merchandise that hid a full-blown gambling operation. The crooks also installed kill switches on the computers. What's more, they found several people who were gambling in a way they had never seen before.
There was an app that individuals were using on their phone. So they had come into the business, put credits on the books, and then were gambling on their phones.
It wasn't always this secretive. As recently as 2015, the gaming machines were out in the open at Vietnamese coffee shops all over the city. SJPD has been raiding illegal operations ever since then, netting dozens of machines and hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Police say the gambling is a cancer on the community. The gamblers themselves often go broke and then steal or commit other crimes to fuel their habit, and gangs extort businesses and attack each other over turf wars.
So when we take these enforcement actions, there's a ripple effect to that, and it's a positive ripple effect, and it's good for the community, and it's bad for the gangs, and that's what we want.
And so SJPD described this as kind of like whack-a-mole. You take one out, another one or two pop up to take its place. They get the feeling like these crooks are taking advantage of San Jose's low staffing levels, but with San Jose in a rebuilding phase now, they're hiring a lot more officers. They plan on staffing up their vice unit, so you can expect a lot more operations like this one in the coming months. And we're live in East San Jose. Kit Doe, KPIX5.
I think, again, people going to gamble. I don't know. This needs to be done legally. I know there are some places run by the tribes where people can gamble. Sure. I know there's Bay 101 is a big one. But
yeah, the Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a...
But those are just, those are card rooms. So they, the tribes, I think, can have, I forget if they can have like slot machines and sort of games of, what they call games of chance, right? They actually get around it, Matrix and Bay 101 because they're technically, because it's card games, there's some skill involved, I guess. So it's not entirely chance, right? Like roulette or the slot machines, right? But yeah, there are sanctioned places for people to gamble that generate revenue for the tribes or for local municipalities. But if you don't want to pay the heavy taxes and you just want to have a nice little operation and have a few friends over to gamble on their phones in whole new ways, then just start a front in a barbershop and some rundown shopping center and make a little money, especially if the police ain't watching. But it looks like they're watching now, so
yeah,
gotta be a little more careful.
Yeah, I guess like like they were saying, it's like whack-a-mole. You're never going to stop it. So like ideally you would just legalize it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a legalize it across the board kind of a person, right? Like let people have their vices, right? As long as they're not messing with other people, right? Like don't infringe on my life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, whatever, but do your thing, man, if you want to.
Yeah, I don't know. Slot machines and roulette and stuff. They're fun not because you like they're fun because you don't know what's going to happen there. That's why like I don't really like gambling. Like last time I went to Vegas, I was like, I will spend $50 in the casino and that's it.
Right. Some people have legit, concerns, right? They have compulsions, they have addictions, right? And I certainly have my addictions. I'm sure you do as well. And it's not society's problem necessarily to be concerned about the wheres and why you're gambling. But like you said, if you're going to do it, if you're compelled, if you're compulsive, you're going to do it. Let people do it, but maybe make it just safer for them, right? Have some kill switches on it of a different variety than the ones they have in these places.
You just have like a and like have like a nice place for them to like a nice place to go gamble. Like
sure,
like
and
where there's
maybe set some. Sorry, go ahead.
Like where there's maybe other things going on at the place. You can go see a show. Yeah. Maybe do like what Vegas did. Let the hotels get in on it. Because they got the space to do it in their lobbies and stuff. Like kind of like because Vegas has that dialed in. I don't gamble at all, and Vegas is great.
Well, I
don't gamble at all. I mean, I take $50, and once that's gone, I just will not gamble anymore.
Right. Well, speaking of putting things in your neighborhood, right? That's the number one thing you'd hear the pushback from, especially in San Jose, right? Like, oh yeah, gambling's great, but you want to have a casino in my neighborhood? Oh, no. Or in my city? No, that's cool. You can have it over there.
Well, that's why I said like, and I don't mean like the Motel 6. I mean like the nice big hotels downtown. They have room for it, and they have the money to staff up and follow whatever regulation is necessary for it. And you limit it to 5 or 10% of the total like public square feet of the hotel, and you let people play some fucking slots while they're at the hotel. It makes money for the hotel. It gets it's going to get rid of these illegal locations to a large extent. The hotel restaurant's going to make money, maybe because the gambling goes in the hotel. A couple of the ballrooms, they'll have some entertainment in there. It'll be good for everybody. But the problem is, I just said the E word that San Jose seems to be very, very unhappy with having happened at all in downtown. And I said, I mean entertainment.
Yes. Well, that would mean we're like a city, and that would mean that we'd have to have we'd have certain people coming to our city to be entertained, and we don't want that.
Like, not for nothing, that Matrix. I've only played in their club there once, but they have a beautiful music venue inside of that place. It's wonderful. I don't know what they're doing with it. I haven't heard any, maybe the promoter changed, or, me being me, I didn't follow up or whatever, but like I got treated right. I showed up early, and they were like, "Oh, you're here early." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I wanted to check the space out." And they were like, "What you need to do right now is check the restaurant out." And they gave me a voucher, and I went in the restaurant and got a meal. I mean, they fed me. They gave me like 5 drink tickets. They paid me. So this would be this, like, if they're making money off this the casino, and maybe the entertainment is drawing people to the casino, this might be a way for like some of the bands to start actually getting paid when they play. Like,
for sure.
I mean, I didn't. I didn't mind that at all. That was a great experience. It's not my kind of not my kind of place, and definitely not the kind of music that they're generally going to want in that kind of place. But people danced and had fun, and like the DJ before me kind of warmed the crowd up with like the kind of music they wanted to hear. By the time I was playing, everybody was kind of drunk, so people were ready to get low and stuff. I just feel like there are really good solutions to these problems in spaces that we already have, and I think the big hotels are the obvious place to put this.
Sure, yeah, it's all part of the ecosystem. It's just like frankly, it's just like housing, right? Middle income housing, low income housing. It's housing, right? It takes some of the pressure off, and then creates more opportunities for the entire ecosystem of music and entertainment in San Jose and elsewhere. So yeah, more venues, more spaces, more opportunities.
Yeah, I'm just like I said, you get people. These are kind of nice hotels and stuff, but that's when people maybe expect quiet. But if you're in a room on the 3rd or 4th floor on these hotels, none of what's going on below you, you're not going to hear nothing.
If you're in a cruise ship, you know exactly. It's pretty. There are ways to mask sound, right?
Right. And
there's a concert going on like less than 30 yards away from you, and you're churning water at tens of miles an hour with a big old boat, and yet you don't really hear much of anything. You can sleep through it. So
yeah, and then I just feel like everybody wins here. I'm not like, oh well, we better make sure the hotel barons make the money, but then the hotel makes more money. Maybe they hire up new staff. There's new jobs that get created. People who are managing the gambling thing. And again, with you're bringing in people with gambling. They're going to want other stuff to do while they're there. So the bar's going to do a little bit better. You could have shows like those ballrooms are empty most Fridays and Saturday nights. They have that unused space. Well, if there's a little casino there, maybe that ballroom's not empty anymore because people could go gambling and go see a show, maybe get dinner, and you make like a night of it or whatever. There's people go to Vegas for a reason, and I feel like you don't have to have the entirety of Vegas to take a look at what they're doing as far as entertainment and mimic some of it in your city for the benefit of a small business, large business, employees, artists, promoters, everybody.
I would tend to agree. I do think that it's a slippery slope, and that's exactly what people would say. Because once the dollars start flowing, it doesn't go away, right? The card rooms started, and they're only allowed to expand. There's never a ballot measure or a policy change to shrink the card rooms, right? So yes, I agree with you, but I do think that you get enough pushback from the community that it's just not going to happen. Otherwise, it would have happened by now, and Nevada and New Jersey wouldn't be the only states that have fully legalized gambling. But we'll see. I mean, who I didn't think I'd see a billboard when I was 18 years old. I didn't think I'd see a billboard running around San Jose that says "Don't drive high." Right? The fact that they acknowledge that people might be driving high is a major step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think there are ways to do this where maybe you don't have just these little rooms that are just for gambling. You have to already have X number of square feet. You have to be using the hotel is the best example where they could just dedicate 5 to 10% of not like the total square feet, because then you're doing the rooms and whatnot, but like of the lobby and the ballrooms and stuff. Like, I just feel like there's that's the easiest solution. And then,
well, the San Jose City Council is covering downtown vibrancy and Mayor Tech Bros plan for that tomorrow. So we can hopefully have some coverage of ideas they might have for improving downtown vibrancy.
Bro, like what if it was like a wine bar? Bro,
you could jump on public comment tomorrow. It's at 11 a.m. So,
what if it was like a wine bar, but like a startup ran it? What if they had to get nonprofit? Bro, what if it was a venture capital funded wine bar? Bro.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. So you want to be a teacher in Richmond? Sounds like these are great folks doing great things, and it seems like, as always, I don't like the word public servants. I like our public employees. Shit rolls downhill, and unfortunately, I don't know why, but we put teachers at the bottom of the hill.
It hasn't been easy at all. I come and I try to spruce myself up and keep a smile on my face, but on the inside, it's the struggle.
Teaching school children is all 37-year-old Natalie Shakesnider has ever wanted to do. But the 6th grade teacher never imagined she'd be working full-time and still unable to make ends meet.
I've been between my car, Motel 6, and an Airbnb whenever I can afford it.
Shakesnider drove from her home state of Mississippi to take a teaching job in Richmond 2 years ago.
I had no idea that I would come here, leaving Mississippi, leaving a home, and come here to being homeless. I have to run my car a lot just to have the warmth.
She's been unable to find affordable housing, so she rents an Airbnb or motel room. And every month when the money runs out,
sleep there, keep my car running as long as I can when I do have gas to do that.
She sleeps in her car.
Thankful for the grocery stores, gas stations where I go to kind of wash up and take care of hygiene to come to work. I keep my bleaching things, and when I go to the gas stations, restrooms, I clean up the bathrooms. Most nights I'm scared, it's unsafe, but I get up in the mornings and I still come to work.
Our starting salary here for a teacher is about 50, in sort of the mid to late 50s. That is not sufficient to be able to independently live. To the county.
The president of the teachers union says Shake Snyder is not the only teacher living on the edge. He says West Contra Costa School District teachers are among the lowest paid in the Bay Area. And he says they're currently at an impasse with the district as they negotiate for higher wages.
About 2 weeks ago, we held a rally where about 700 people spoke, and people were in tears, letting them know how desperate they are.
They cannot afford to live in the community they work in.
They're devoting so much of their time and energy just to fight for their own survival.
The district acknowledges teachers are struggling. In a statement, they said WCC USD is working rapidly to readjust budget priorities in recognition that many of our educators are currently experiencing economic hardship, which has been worsened by rising inflation and the economic climate of the greater Bay Area. They say they're offering a 10% raise.
I don't regret coming here because I love that I'm chasing my dream, but it makes me sad to know that I'm doing this while most times sleeping in my car. It's really sad.
Shake Snyder says she wasn't prepared for the high cost of living in California. And she says she's met many others who are working, some multiple jobs, who are homeless too.
It's not a personal thing. I believe like it's a Bay Area, California thing where there are people who are working jobs, getting up every day, going to work, and yet still doesn't have a safe, comfortable place to live.
She says California's teachers deserve way more than what they get paid. Though she loves her Richmond students, she tells us she may move back to Mississippi at the end of the school year. But she's determined to continue pursuing her passion.
I wake up every day not knowing how it's going to end. All I do know is that I'm going to teach, and that's what gives me joy. That's what I live by.
The teachers union has set up a GoFundMe to help Shake Snyder as they fight for higher wages for all the district's teachers. In Richmond, Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
It was fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good on them for offering a 10% raise, but a 10% raise on $50,000 is $5,000. So, and that's obviously not chump change, right? That's money in your pocket that's used for rent and utilities and anything else, food, right? But you're still making $55K a year in an area where, they say rent should be maybe a third of your, take home, right? But the rent would suck up that entire amount of money and she would have anything to, feed herself. She wouldn't even have that ramen that's in the backseat of her car, right? I was a little worried there. I thought she was like using the bleach to like soak the ramen.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that. That's a different show.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel for her. I'm come from a family of educators. It's a sham, like you said. We put them on the bottom rung, and it should frankly be reversed in some way. And it seems like in this situation they get support from the community, but it's not always, right. And you hear just as much about the greedy teachers unions and the and teachers not looking out for, they're not stepping up for students. They're just out for their own self-interest. That's why they're striking. They're not striking to help my kids. It's like, actually, no, no. And if you made the peanuts they made for the work that they have to do and the thanks that they get, you'd be pissed off too. And you'd be marching out there with them instead of, telling them that they're overpaid and greedy. Give me a break. I don't know one teacher, even like maybe at the college level, right? The tenured Harvard professor, but most teachers, and educators are getting the short end of the stick. So, and more fundamental changes are needed. Anyway,
I just recall when I was a kid, there was a teacher who was a single woman. I don't know if she had kids or not, but she owned a house in Fremont. She owned a house.
Dude, my mom is a retired teacher. She owns a house in Willow Glen, like the heart of Willow Glen, like not realtors Willow Glen, like the heart of like a block from downtown Willow Glen, prime real estate. She could sell it for oodles more than she bought it many years ago, but that she could afford it on an educator's salary back in the day. My dad was an accountant, so it's not like he was, Rockefeller. So
right, they were just a regular professional couple.
Yeah. Quote unquote middle class, right? That doesn't necessarily exist anymore, but that they were the epitome of middle class at the time. And now, like, they'd be in poverty now, standards based on what they were making.
I just remember when I was a kid and we were kind of going over what people made. Teachers were making $35, $40, and it seems like that was a lot more money when I was fucking 10 years old or 12 years old than the 55 is now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The inflation and everything else, cost of living has just skyrocketed, and wages have really not risen all that much, percentage wise.
Well, let's move on to one more winners and losers. This is, you know what? If you're gonna accidentally drive your car into somebody's house, you better hope that it's a Tesla, because then you can just blame it on the car. Here's a man says a Tesla drove itself into a San Ramon home. Fuck yeah, you get him, pal.
He's blaming his car. Specifically, he's blaming his Tesla. A man in Contra Costa County says his Tesla drove itself into his home, but the car was not on autopilot. So what really happened here? NBC Bay Area's Pete Serratos joins us now in San Ramon. And Pete, what's his side of the story?
Yeah, well, Raj, that driver is still shaken up because this was just a routine task. He was moving his car into his garage, but now he's left wondering if he made a bad investment.
Then I stopped here to open the garage.
Laxmana Marpu of San Ramon says he was simply moving his Tesla Model Y from the front entrance of his house into his garage when the car seemed to take over.
And then while going, it's lost the control. It's not stopping at all. It's directly bumped into the wall.
The car went careening into his home. This was the scene this morning when Laxmana's Tesla was removed from the wall it plowed into. He says he wasn't on autopilot and believes the car accelerated on its own. On the other side of that wall is plenty of damage. The car hit hard enough to knock his refrigerator from his kitchen into his living room. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt, and neither was his family, who were upstairs when the crash happened.
There, my family members, everyone, we finished the dinner, they're in upstairs. That's a good thing, right? No one is in downstairs. Sometimes when kids, they can get hurt.
With the driver saying the car accelerated on its own, neighbors like Sanjeev are shaken up too. He says over half the neighborhood owns Teslas, including
now I used to drive my Tesla very comfortably, but looking at the incident when, self-drive becomes the self-disaster, it's really scary.
Laxmana says the city of San Ramon has notified him he can't use the garage until his insurance company provides an update on those repairs. He believes it could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix.
Definitely Tesla need to look into that issue. Okay, I want to make sure other persons would not affect them.
So Laxmana did file a police report, but since no one was injured, they are not going to contact Tesla. Now, we also reached out to Tesla on our own, but we have yet to hear back. We're live here in San Ramon. Pete Serratos, NBC Bay Area News.
Thank you, Pete.
So
Elon Musk didn't get back to him?
Yeah, imagine that. So I'm not
busy.
You don't know. I remember over the years there have been a lot of different stories. I don't know if you've kind of known this too, that where there's stories of unintended acceleration by different models of vehicles over the course of years. And a lot of times it's hard to reproduce because, it just fucking happens intermittently. It's like if your car's doing something weird, you take it to the mechanic. Well, it's not going to do it when you take it to the mechanic, right? That's the rule. And so this idea of unintended acceleration is nothing new. The thing is that these cars are more and more becoming computers where, I don't know what happened with this guy. I mean, this doesn't seem like certainly not a reckless driving situation or anything like that. He was just moving his car from the street to the garage.
That's what he says.
Right. But I mean, this is like you would be doing, you're not doing this quickly. There's no reason for you to be going quickly, like when you're pulling into your garage.
But do you think this is even a story if it's not a Tesla, as we've talked about before? If it was like a Ford or a Ford Focus that did this, right? Is it even a story?
We were talking about, that's a good question. The answer is probably no, but the answer is probably no because the CEO of Ford isn't running around telling everybody that his car's an autonomous vehicle or what, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
true, but the opening's there and this, who knows? I mean, yeah, it could be totally innocent. He was just moving his car. Could be that he'd had a couple too many drinks, before he moved his car.
It might not even have anything to do with alcohol, right? It could be
just reckless,
some freak accident. People make mistakes all the time, and it's not
human error,
malice or alcohol or whatever. But
But I might try to get something out of Tesla if I had that opportunity, and I wanted to.
Me too.
Especially if it was going to be like whatever thousands of dollars to repair my house. So, enough winners and losers. Let's talk about getting our shit together and potential winners, which could be all black people in San Francisco.
Well, get your shit together. Do some reparations in San Francisco.
Let's hear about it.
This Black History Month, we are examining renewed calls for reparations. In San Francisco, supporters are calling for $5 million to be paid to each eligible black resident in the city. KTV's Christian Captain has more on how a committee is making its case to the city to help right the wrongs of slavery.
Last month, San Francisco's African American Reparations Advisory Committee presented its first draft, looking at the idea of how a legacy of racism has harmed San Francisco's black community and what can and should be done to address those wrongs. Committee Chair Eric McDonald says despite the city's reputation for being progressive, past policies have systematically disenfranchised black residents.
Fundamentally, what was stolen from black people in America was a path towards financial well-being.
The committee points to past policies on housing, redevelopment plans that decimated thriving businesses in majority black communities, as well as inequities in policing and in education, all of which the committee says worked together to erode opportunities for African Americans.
Being segregated to certain parts of the city, they were met here and not given eligibility for certain kinds of jobs, right? They were met here without being able to start their own businesses. So all of these impediments to doing what every other American, or in this case San Franciscan, wanted to be able to do.
Since the initial report, many have focused on one of the committee's recommendations that qualifying African Americans should receive one-time payments of $5 million. But less has been made of the reasons behind the committee's work and where the city goes from here.
Okay, for better or for worse, whether it's the $5 million financial payment or any of the others, committee tell us how to do it. And our response is that was not our charge. Our charge was to present the evidence and justification for these proposals.
Noble Pierce says in the 7 decades he's called San Francisco home, he's seen the inequity of opportunities firsthand.
Of course, reparations would definitely be a good idea. All the promises that our people had over the years, the old chicken in every pot and the 20 acres and a mule and all of those lies.
And Kenny Underwood says for generations, black Americans were limited in how they could act on an economic level. Reparations, he says, are an idea whose time has come.
Am I saying that it's going to be a solution to fix all the social ills that racism created? No. But do I think that it can help provide some economic equality as a city and as a country? Yes, most definitely.
The Reparations Committee says their initial proposal is the start of an important conversation. McDonald says similar discussions have happened in the past. This committee is including language in their proposal aimed at getting the Board of Supervisors to take action one way or another.
Even if something isn't, obviously this is an extreme, we don't want or expect this, but even if there's something as we've read it and it's all not feasible, we can't do it.
But in other words, you don't want them to sit on their hands.
Exactly, and not take action.
The committee is set to present their findings to the Board of Supervisors in mid-March and present their final presentation in June. In San Francisco, Christian Captain, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
It's never going to happen.
I mean, the $5 million more than likely is not going to be happening. I could see some sort of package of something happening, but it's certainly not going to be that. And it might be somewhere between that and 40 acres and a mule. I don't know, but I would tend to. I mean, it's good that the white dudes are talking about that.
I'm not. I'm not against the idea of reparations. I think it's there are it was all the way into the 80s that there was just on the record redlining, and now there's still redlining. It's just like a wink and a nudge. Yeah,
it's a little more subtle, right? But it's done with zoning codes, and it's still done with zoning codes. It's still done with permitting, all sorts of manner of things, right? The allowing liquor stores to proliferate in heavily African American neighborhoods, whereas it's hard to open a liquor store in a white neighborhood, right? All those, death by 1,000 cuts, right? That's really what it is, like millions and millions and millions of cuts over time, both subtle and not so subtle. And yeah, the reparations are absolutely deserved. I would love for us to be able to figure this out. I don't know that there's ever going to be a solution that satisfies everyone, but I would certainly love to see a solution. But like you, I don't know that it's going to happen anytime soon, or that we're going to be able to sort it out anytime soon.
And not for nothing, we talk a lot about entertainment, and when you look at basically, you'll just look at music. Every kind of music you like came out of black and brown culture in the United States.
Sure.
And so like when you think about that too, and you see these cities, particularly San Jose, kind of stepping on entertainment, you're stepping on a lot of poor people, a lot of black and brown people who are going to want to do art and entertainment. It's, and that's, it's just another way in which like this stuff keeps moving forward in very subtle ways. I mean, I go to, like right now you go to a music festival. It's a very white, very, very white and gentrified thing. But all that music, techno, house music, trance music, drum and bass, and then the disco and the disco that it was based on, and then the funk music that was based on, and the jazz music that was based on, that all came out of black culture. And so it's like, when you start to push out these kind of small entertainment venues, or don't give them a space to fucking thrive, you're pushing out black and brown culture from your society. That's what you're doing. It all comes in America. It's all come out of black and brown culture, and you're making that decision to not have a jazz bar, making that decision not to have a rock and roll bar. You are making a decision about race, even if you don't think about it that way.
Yeah. And there's also something to be said that really the only way to accrue wealth, or to be socially acceptable as a black person in America for many years, was to be in entertainment, right? And still to this day, to be in entertainment, right? Like it's acceptable to be a rich black person if you're an actor, or you're a basketball player, or you're, a musician, right?
Basically, you're famous enough that the cops aren't going to shoot you. They don't care that you're in a Mercedes.
Sure. And who knows? Who knows how famous you have to be to not be shot, honestly. But we shall see. But yeah, we'll keep tracking this. If any city was going to try this, I'd say San Francisco would probably be the first.
It would be San Francisco. The other place that I think would be inclined to try this would be Portland, just because there's no black people there. I don't mean none, but I mean Portland is for an urban, like a blue dot in the middle of a red place. Portland is Portland almost as white as Scientology.
It's still Oregon. Let's face it. They do have a basketball team there though, so there are at least 5 black people there.
Man, I'm glad we're not live right now. My Twitch chat would be like, boo, boo, Councilman.
I'm already getting canceled from the other room. I can hear the good wife canceling me before, so we should probably move on to the next story.
So this story's out of Oakland. We're moving on to Downballot Watch. And there's a lawsuit, I guess, accusing Oakland city officials of a cover-up and filing for a new mayoral election. My fucking God.
Yeah, it's a nice quick clip, though, so we can talk, about it on the other side.
All right, whatever.
Suit filed today calls for a new election in the Oakland mayor's race. The Alameda County Taxpayers Association and Oakland attorney Marlene Sachs say the city violated its charter by limiting ranked voting to just 5 candidates. There were 10 on the ballot. They also claim that now Mayor Sheng Tao missed the official filing deadline of 5 p.m. on August 12th, and that the city failed to investigate their complaints. Tao won the election by fewer than 700 votes. The plaintiffs said, quote, if voters had been given the number of options that the law requires, and if the city clerk's office hadn't mysteriously altered the timestamps, these things legitimately could have changed the outcome of the election. We have reached out to the mayor's office for a comment.
Oh, my God. This is Maricopa County ass bullshit.
Yeah, as far as I know, and as far as all reports, the election was conducted with the utmost security and by the books and by the rules. And it was double, triple checked. So it's another case of, yeah, exactly. Not just sour grapes, but like really trying to manipulate and overturn our democracy. And I don't know, I can't necessarily claim racism because, frankly, a lot of the folks behind this are supportive of Lauren Taylor, who is a black man who came in second. Despite, I think, getting the most first place votes. I guess Sheng Tao won through the ranked choice system, which is exactly how it's supposed to work. She is Hmong, I believe it's pronounced. So she's the first Hmong mayor of a major American city. I don't know if that's causing some level of outrage in the community, or if it's just sour grapes. But it seems like a lot of big waste of time. You've got a mayor, move on. Like work with the new mayor. Maybe you can get some cool things done with them.
This is the kind of stuff like that we have been covering in Shasta County and Orange County, and to the extent that we've been looking into it, Maricopa County, because that Carrie Lake lady. Yeah. I don't know if you know about her, like her antics.
Oh, yeah, we went over that. Yeah, 100%. So we did a whole show about Arizona.
Yeah, and so I feel like this is just kind of riding that wave and bringing that kind of like toxicity and unnecessary bullshit here into the Bay Area, where
agree.
We think of ourselves as kind of like almost like immune to this kind of stuff, and I think this thing is going nowhere. It's been too long since the election. It's been too long since the election. I think most of the populace has probably accepted the results and moved on. And not for nothing, if she won in a ranked choice system where she didn't get the most first place votes, that means she has broad support, even among people who for whom she was not the first choice. There are many people who the first choice was her opponent. I forget, or her closest opponent, and then she was the second choice. So that means those people like both of them.
And that's one of the main primary arguments behind ranked choice voting, is that it gets you more of a consensus pick rather than necessarily someone who got like a plurality of people who love them. And then like in a 5-person race, right? Like someone could get 25% and win. But that could be the only 25% that like them at all, right? And the 75% hate them. Whereas someone could, get 25%, but also be, 50% of people's second place person or second choice person. So 75% of the people like them, right? So there's a lot to be said for that, for getting to a consensus and getting to avoiding a situation where you get maybe 2 people in a runoff who were selected by a very small electorate in a primary race, right? And also by a very partisan and a very motivated electorate, and got them into the runoff. And then they're the only 2 people that the rest of us have to choose from at the end of the day, when more people turn out in like a November election, right? So good arguments to be made for it. It looks like everything was clean, so we'll hope that this goes away. But just never ceases to amaze how much this stuff comes right here to the Bay Area. It doesn't have to be Maricopa. It doesn't have to be Shasta. It's happening right here in the Bay Area all the time.
So the only thing they said in there that made sense is that there were 10 candidates and that you should have been able to pick up to 10. And so I would, maybe a change would be, you may rank these people however you like. You know what I'm saying? You may, as long as you don't pick 2 people for number 1 or 2 people for number 2, yeah. As long as each person gets you can choose 1, you can choose 2, you can choose 10, any number in between, just put it in. And then we'll deal with this accordingly. But I don't know. There's 10. Choose 5. That sounds reasonable to me. Choose your favorite 5. It does go both ways too. Yeah, you can just rank one person. You can just put 1, and that's it. You don't have to rank 5, right? I think, frankly, like it would be. I don't know if many people would actually rank out 10 people, right? I don't know that they'd even have enough knowledge about the race to rank them all. If they want to, fucking let them. Yeah, no, absolutely. I would agree there. It has to do. There is something that has to do with the vote counting software and the tech that is involved with the ballots, because we're dealing with paper ballots and other hang-ups. You know what? So you're right. Computers are really bad at counting to 10. No, it's true. No, but yes, I don't understand. I don't begin to understand voting technology because it is somewhat stuck in the dark ages. But I do know that was one of the issues in terms of why they cannot allow for more than 5 to be ranked. But 5 is fine, because I'd be willing to bet that the vast majority of people didn't even pick 5. Well, I would also, I'd say that I would say that it's hard enough to get someone to be convinced to vote for one person. Getting them to like rank 3 or 4 or 5 is just it's a big challenge. That's one of the arguments I've heard against ranked choice voting from organizers and campaign people. Oh, it's going to be impossible to get people to change to this system and figure this out. It's like, no, people can figure it out, but it's just going to be too tedious to rank like 10 people. And on the education part of that too, you can stress to people, be like, if you don't if you're not interested in this ranked choice system, just pick who you want to vote for and move on.
Yeah. Who do you like? Yeah, 1. Just put a 1 next to, instead of marking their name, you put a 1 next to their name, and that's it. And you're done.
Right. I mean, you stress that.
Save yourself some time.
You pick up to 5. If you only like 2 of them, then you pick 1 and 2. It's
and if you only like 1, that's you're lost. If you don't have a second choice, right? If you don't get your first choice, then it's your loss. If you only voted for that first choice, then your vote really doesn't count after that. If that person gets eliminated, your vote stops counting. Basically, that's the downside of not ranking.
The only system I like better, but I don't think it'll ever get implemented. I don't know if you know about approval voting, where instead of ranking everybody, you can choose. In this case, you could maybe, I don't know, you choose all 10. Well, then that's weird. But it happens in approval voting. You'd go, if there's 10, choose up to 3 or whatever.
Yeah, it happens in appointment processes quite a bit when city councils are appointing someone to fill a vacancy among them, right? So you've got like 6 or 5 or 6 council members, or in San Jose's case, I think it was 8 at the time, 9. So they express a preference, right? And they can vote for multiple people. And then at the end of the day, whoever has the most, most check marks,
the most approval votes, basically.
Correct. Right. And if people tie, then they take those 2, and they you have a little runoff. But yeah, it's happened. It actually happened recently in Mountain View. Hopefully we'll have some video because the council member is getting appointed tomorrow night. But new council member in Mountain View was appointed by that process, and it worked out pretty well, and no one really had many complaints.
And not for nothing, real quick, but this is just one of my personal bugaboos. When things go wrong with ranked choice voting, where's Andrew Yang and everybody to come in and try to get on TV when people are upset with the result? You know what I'm saying? Like where's the Forward Party to come in and try to help educate the voters about the ranked choice voting system when things, and I don't think anything went wrong in this, but there is a perception among some people in Oakland that things went wrong. So where's Andrew Yang at? Where's Andrew Yang and all the people who really like TED Talks that are like the only people that support the Forward Party? Like, where are they at? Oh, wait, those people don't go to Oakland. Why wouldn't they go to Oakland? Councilman, why do you suppose maybe an almost all white political party doesn't really, spend a lot of time in Oakland?
I don't know that they have a lot of fertile territory there, but yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you that I think that it's a very small percentage of people that are really concerned about this. They've had ranked choice voting in Oakland for many years. We went through this whole thing previously in a mayoral campaign in Oakland, I believe, right when Libby Schaaf won, or when the person before her was elected. So, and they were Asian American too, right? So. Coincidence? I don't know. But we shall see. Anyway.
All right, well, we're going to move on to the next story. Unfortunately, it looks like this is a story out of San Francisco, and it looks like our DA, who we weren't big fans of, we were very much biased against the recall of Chesa Boudin. It looks like charges against an officer are going to be dropped, even though
elections matter.
Yeah, elections matter, everybody. So let's check out this story from KTVU Fox 2 News here.
The family of a San Francisco man killed by a police officer is demanding justice. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins says she plans to dismiss charges against the officer responsible, charges that her predecessor, Chesa Boudin, brought against the officer. Tonight, the man's aunt tells KTVU's Amber Lee the officer needs to be held accountable. Amber.
Greg, the aunt says she is the voice for her nephew and all the black and brown men unjustly killed by law enforcement. She says she will not give up her fight for justice.
If it was a white man that got out of that van, I believe he would still be alive.
This is the scene of a deadly police shooting in San Francisco's Bayview district on December 1st, 2017. The unarmed carjacking suspect shot and killed by a rookie police officer is Kiete O'Neill, who is black. Body cam footage shows Officer Chris Samayoa fired his weapon through the glass window.
Whoa! Well, that's a drive-by shooting.
And April Green says she wants justice.
Not all police officers are bad, but there are those that are bad seeds. And they need to be held accountable for when they put on that blue uniform with the intent of abusing it.
In 2020, then District Attorney Chesa Boudin made the historic move of charging the fired officer with manslaughter. But voters recalled Boudin last fall. Now, current DA Brooke Jenkins plans to dismiss the case against the officer responsible.
It's disappointing. I should have expected it. I keep hoping that she would do right.
Jenkins issued a written statement that says in part, quote, the irregularities and facts that have come to light surrounding the case against Officer Samayoa suggest that the charges were not filed in good faith, appear to have been politically motivated, and have made it impossible for us to proceed forward with this prosecution. Former DA Boudin said in part, quote, Jenkins' dismissal is offensive and her excuses are dishonest. We charge this case based on the facts, the same facts that led to the police department to fire the officer, led the judge to sign the arrest warrant, and led the city to settle a multi-million-dollar lawsuit with Kiete O'Neill's family.
This case is not just about my nephew. My nephew is gone. He's not coming back. This is about our future black and brown men and the interaction they have with the police.
Green and DA Jenkins have requested that State Attorney General Rob Bonta take over this case.
I want to believe in the system of justice. I want to believe that it's a fair system.
Unless the state attorney general takes over the case, Jenkins is expected to dismiss the charges against the officer in a hearing scheduled for March 1st. Greg?
All right, our Amber Lee live in the newsroom for us tonight. Amber, thank you.
Yo, the fucking the cop's body cam showed him firing before his vehicle even stopped, before he was able to give any orders to like get out of the vehicle. Like that's fucking. We call that a drive-by shooting when the police don't do that. When it's not the police.
He fired
doing
through the
that.
window of his own. Yeah, he fired through the window of his own black and white. They were saying, like, you know, they were rolling by, like he was being, you know, he was basically leaning back in the seat. He's protected and shooting through his own window, through that guy's window, to hit him. Like, yeah, that's absolutely a drive-by shooting from my perspective. So, thankfully we have the body cam footage to prove it too. But apparently, DA Jenkins doesn't see it that way. She thinks it's too politicized. Well,
she also called it bad faith, which means because we everything's the same kind of bullshit, right? On Wednesdays we talk about the people in the so-called intellectual dark web, the public intellectual class, and when they get insulted or criticized, they're like, well, this is a bad faith, you know, criticism of me. And so it's really interesting that wording was used, because that leads me to believe that she has decided that the former DA, that Chesa Boudin, didn't even believe that a crime had been committed. That's what that means, that you're acting in you don't believe in what you're doing. And I mean, we only saw a few seconds of that body footage, or that body cam footage, but unless that person was firing out their car at the police, in which case the police back off and fucking regroup and shit, right? Unless there was a firefight happening, that's just a fucking drive-by shooting, and that's illegal. I feel like that this would have been an open and shut case. It would have been very hard, I think, to defend this officer, to not have a conviction. But
you know, other than making that bad faith argument, right? Like that, and she's basically saying, the former DA had it in for cops, and that was his whole bag. So therefore, this is a sham, and he put this on just to go after SFPD, not because this officer actually did something illegal and wrong and tried to kill somebody and did kill somebody, not just attempted, that he should not have had the power to do. But to say that former DA Boudin politicized it, and then to turn around and dismiss the charges, and you're politicizing it yourself, right? You're making it abundantly clear that this is a political decision. This was something that the former DA wanted to do. You and your friends got him recalled, got yourself installed, and London Breed got you installed, and you're getting what you want. Now you get the cops off so that, when London Breed runs for her next office, the police union will endorse her and give her lots of money, and she can call herself the public safety, mayor, right? She cracked down on the Tenderloin. She cracked down on all the drugs. She cracked down on this, and she helped police keep the city safe, right? Instead of going after them and attacking them. She's definitely setting herself up for something later on.
Yeah, this bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be endorsing her anytime soon here at Down Ballot.
And funny enough, I think I believe that I don't know if we endorsed her when she first ran, but we certainly said that she seemed good from but that's how this always worked. They fuck these people. They talk this progressive game. We saw Matt Mahan do it. when he was running for the city council spot. He was the progressive candidate.
Seemed like it. He wasn't the guy that killed somebody.
Right.
He didn't run anyone over.
Right. He wasn't. Yeah. And
now I kind of wish he had run someone else over.
Right. Oh, anyway, we're going to move on to more policing. Apparently, the San Jose City Council gets an F in policing from an advocacy group. I don't know anything about this story, and I'm really skeptical about where I'm going to come down on this after I hear what's going on here.
I think you'll probably hate everyone.
Oh, well, that's good. This could have been in Winners and Losers then, but
true. But it is tied to local politics, so I figure Downballot was appropriate.
New at 10, criticism aimed at the San Jose City Council for its record on police reform. An outside report says the council has failed to implement recommendations made in 2021. City officials do not agree. KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters live tonight in San Jose with more on the report, as well as reaction, LaMonica, from the mayor.
This is the second year that Sacred Heart Community Service has issued a report on San Jose's policing. They gave the council a failing grade, but City Council says there has been some progress made, but there's still more work to be done.
Back in 2020, when George Floyd was murdered, we were taken aback but needed to take a look at our own backyard.
Sacred Heart Community Service released its yearly findings on San Jose City Council's response to the hundreds of recommendations it gave to the police department. The results? The council received an F in policing.
The solutions that we want to see, like more safe parking sites for people who are living on the streets, more dignity for folks on the streets. So instead of being harassed, being able to give them an alternative, mental health responses, and reinvesting into some of the mental health responses we already have.
Sacred Heart also disagrees with adding more police officers as a part of the solution. Last year, the city's independent police auditor launched a web portal for people to report misconduct. It found that 31% of officers received complaints in 2021, up 25% from the year before. District 4 Council member David Cohen says it'll take time to implement hundreds of recommendations.
As I said, two things can be true. We need to continue down the path of reform and best practices, but at the same, we also need to continue to invest in a properly staffed police department.
Newly elected Mayor Matt Mahan was also on the city council last year and says he disagrees with Sacred Heart's assessment of the progress being made.
The city received over 500 recommendations for police reform. To date, we have implemented over half of those. We have another 111 that are in progress. And there are another 113 recommendations that we don't have the capacity to implement at the moment, but we agree with.
The mayor also says that city council members will go back to the community and ask for help prioritizing the remaining recommendations. Sacred Heart says that a lot of these things should have been fixed years ago, and they want to make sure that these issues don't fall on the back burner. Mike?
LaMonica Peters live tonight in San Jose. LaMonica, thank you.
So actually, I thought that this was going to be some crap from some advocacy, like pro-police advocacy group saying that they hadn't hired enough cops. That was like what I was worried that we were about to watch, and that I was going to get kind of angry at and be like, well, there's really nobody to root for here. It's like Evil Beto versus the Ed 209 Foundation or whatever.
Well, I was waiting for Evil Beto to say, like, we have the solution. It's Ed 209. Ed, take it away. all 500 solutions in one robot.
You know, when he mentioned the solutions, it's like which solutions have been implemented? Like,
right. Well, what they do in, city policy making, right? Generally speaking, they take what's called the low hanging fruit, right? The council says, "Oh, we want to do these things." Well, here's one we can do. We've already done it. Cha-ching, check. You know, we're already doing that, right? And that happens quite a bit. You know, recommendations are made by bodies that don't necessarily have all the facts and aren't given all the facts, and so you end up with things that are already done or already maybe being thought about, right, or already contemplated. So they're very easy to green light, as they say, and just get done. And then you have the ones in the middle that are going to take a little time, and they don't want to necessarily do the work, so they'll say, "Oh, well, those are in progress," right? And then the line about we don't have the capacity to do, that's just frankly, I mean, maybe it's true depending on what it is, but for the most part, it's more than likely we don't want to do these things, and we're just going to say we're going to blame the budget. Because in San Jose, you can do that. That's the beauty of San Jose is if you really want to cut down on, cut public employees, if you want to cut down on government services, you have a perfectly good excuse because they really don't have the money, right? They have budget shortfalls every year. So you can blame the budget for anything you don't want to do in San Jose. And I'm sure that they're doing that, and the PD's doing that in some way with some of these recommendations that they're going to slow walk, right? Because they don't want to do them.
And I mean, that's a result of
stuff.
That's a result of a bigger structural problem. The money's there in this city. Not that the city has the money, but not that the city government has the money, but the money.
They're not accessing it and leveraging the right resources, right? The right revenue resources. They're not getting it from the places they need to be getting it and generating as much as they can. They're
right.
picking and choosing, and then basically residents end up paying, the brunt of everything. And business and commerce and industry does not.
Well, we're going to move on to and other things this week. We got one human interest story and one animal interest story to make up for last week when we had basically neither. I appreciate that.
I was just mentioning that to the good wife earlier. I figured you would appreciate it.
So we got this first one. It's a cute story, and I think I'm just going to let the news tell the story because this was also, I saw this all over Twitter. So
nice.
In the North Bay, the pandemic hit small businesses especially hard, and many restaurants are still feeling the lasting impact. Tonight, though, the story of a daughter who took to social media in hopes that people would come back to her family's restaurant in Santa Rosa. ABC 7 News reporter J.R. Stone shows you they came back and in big numbers.
This may look like just another busy restaurant, but last month things looked a lot different here at Lee's Noodle House in Santa Rosa. It was completely empty. 21-year-old Jennifer Lee posted this 7-second video on TikTok showing her dad leaning against the counter. She wrote, "It makes me so sad to see my parents just wait for customers to walk through the door to eat at their Vietnamese restaurant." She added music, so the clip sounds like this.
It's been like really slow, and I think a lot of people left because of the pandemic and the fires. So I think I felt really sorry for them.
And it was that short video that got quite a response. 3 weeks later, and the place is packed.
His daughter was on TikTok pleading to the public to help her dad because he was running out of business because of the COVID thing. I saw that, broke my heart.
My dad, he always talk about how he's stressed and he's tired of just waiting around where we have to close early. So I kind of just made the video to help them out a little bit.
As of late Wednesday, the video has racked up more than 987,000 views. Digital marketers that I spoke with said this just shows that TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube videos aren't just used for entertainment purposes anymore. They're being used to get information.
All of us came out of the pandemic discovering that the restaurants we used to go to may not be open anymore. A huge percentage of them just disappeared in the last couple of years. And so finding a restaurant near me is one of the top search terms.
And as for Jennifer's dad, who went from waiting to packing bags, he says he's grateful for the support.
A lot of people from the community come out and support us. And I'm really thankful.
In Santa Rosa, J.R. Stone, ABC 7 News.
Hell yeah.
Nice, man. I'm going to order some pho next time I'm up in Santa Rosa. One of my favorite dishes. I'm sure they rock it out. Good on her. Good on him. Good on the family for making it work.
Yeah, that's great. I kind of sucks that obviously before the pandemic they were doing a decent business. Otherwise, the restaurant wouldn't have been there. The restaurant business is hard, pandemic or no pandemic. It's harder during a pandemic.
Correct. Yeah, and whose heart wouldn't break for that guy? That's, you got to know how that feels. Just picture your dream. Picture the thing that you want to do more than anything in the world, and just not being able to do it. You're sitting there with a kitchen full of food and not being able to serve people. Right? How awful is that got to feel? It's like your purpose in life, and it's been just taken away from you. So good on her, good on them. I'm glad to see Green Bay Packers fans are frequenting the restaurant. That's good. That's good to see. They're drawing in tourists. So
Or I mean, football fandom isn't necessarily just localized.
Or just football fans who are a little misguided.
So we got one more. We got apparently a bird stashed a bunch of nuts in somebody's wall. This is amazing.
Only in the Bay Area.
County, a shocking discovery behind the walls and up the chimney of one home there. Look.
You could say this bird was a little bit of a pack rat. Holy bro! This is crazy.
That's just the beginning. Exterminators were called in to get rid of bugs in a vacation rental home in the community of Glen Ellen. Pest control soon found the real problem: 700 pounds of acorns stuffed behind an interior wall. Exterminators filled 8 large garbage bags. They say woodpeckers stored the nuts in the chimney for the winter.
Oh, man.
So that was an Airbnb. That was an Airbnb that somebody wasn't properly maintaining. That's like that's the problem with that story.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit more to it than that, but yeah, that's one of the weirder things we've seen. I think found in a wall. There have been corpses, there have been huge snakes, but 700 pounds of nuts. Never thought I'd see the day. Who gets to keep the acorns though? Are they good? Can you roast those things? Like, how do we eat acorns these days?
I don't know. They probably threw them away, right?
I guess. I mean, you could just bag them and salt them and, be like, we have the chimney acorns, right? Like sell them at a maker fair. They probably fetch a good $1. They've been on TV.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's your animal nut interest story for this week on Downballot.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in.
I guess that's Downballot. You want to read the show out?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Producer Dave, as always, for joining me for another lovely episode of Downballot. We do this show live on Tuesday nights at 7:30 for one more week, and not this week. So hope you enjoy the recorded version of the show this week. Please keep listening. Please keep downloading. Look for us starting March 3rd on Friday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, prior to bingo. So it's going to be a little change, but we think for the better. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. As always, please get vaxxed. Please wear your masks. Pants are optional. And we hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Let's get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E, take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'm probably doing sloppily.
We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.
Marley say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah.
We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Just sit back and enjoy the band. So sit back, just sit back and enjoy the band. We just do what we want, and enjoy what we want is to jam. So sit back, just sit back, enjoy the band. Just sit back and enjoy what we want is to jam.